Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of The Monsters Den. We're on Sea of Tranquility. It's Thursday night. Thanks for joining. We've got in the house, and one more is joining us because Jamie Laszlo is having issues with his computer, but we got Dan Brown is in the house.
Here we are. Yay.
Chris Allo. Craig Kaminski. I'm hoping I'm pulling and all the way from Scotland, Davy Gallagher. Here we go. Davey, I must ask you because I was talking to Simon and Stephen earlier, and they said like everybody's sick in the UK, in Britain and England and Scotland, coming down with colds and flus and bronchitis and COVID. Is it the same thing by you as well? Is that?
Well, I've been housebound with my own medical issues for so long now. It feels like that for God, it must be a good 6 weeks that I'm avoiding everything, so I can't catch anything. I'm pretty much living in a bubble. However, I will stick my head out the window tomorrow and laugh at all the people coughing as they walk along.
Yeah, well, Simon's been sick for 3 weeks, and he's just like, "What is going on with?"
Yeah, no, there are a lot of people with, and they're testing negative for COVID, but with really bad flus, and that's kind of worrying. So. Who knows? Who knows?
Well, I hope everybody, if you're out there and you're not feeling well, hope you feel better. And Davey, I'm glad to see you're up and about a little bit. So that's good.
Oh, fresh as a daisy.
Always a welcome sight.
There you go. So today is all about stuff we've been buying and watching of late. You know, we've been watching a lot of stuff for, these ranking shows and film review shows. I figured this would be a nice little break to kind of show everybody and talk a little bit about some of the stuff we bought and watched in recent weeks that don't have to do with stuff we've necessarily talked about here on the channel. So Dan Brown, I'm going to have you kick us off. We'll go 2 times around. So Dan, show us some things here. Show and tell night here.
Showing things that I have bought and done and so forth. So as of late, I have been spending money, unfortunately, like a drunken sailor on leave. I swear, it's been out of control this year. Main reason being it's like, but what it is, I'm buying all these boutique-y, bougie things now. Now it's like the 4-disc. And of course, thank you, Peter, for introducing me to 4K, which puts me in another conundrum. Yeah, I know.
Thank this guy over here.
You're playing Chris Allo to the other side. Yeah. But anyhow, but it does serve a purpose. But I do have to evaluate in my collection. Should I keep the Betamax? Should I upgrade it to DVD, or should I do this? Some things are going to stay where they are. But anyhow, getting back to stuff that we bought, I had to take advantage of, and I haven't seen it yet. I have to take advantage of the 4 Flies on the Gray Velvet that by Severin. And
that was a quick sellout on that one.
Yeah, this is a time, and I've learned. That's why nowadays I just said, buy it, because you wait 2 minutes or 3 days and it's gone, and you got somebody out there trying to sell it for $300.
Well, that was intentional by Severin.
Slipcover.
Yeah.
But anyhow, I haven't had a chance to watch it. I'm looking forward to this. So that's number 1 that I purchased. Number 2, and I think maybe Peter has this in his list, so I'm going to show it real quick, and maybe he's seen it, but The Werewolf and the Vampire.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I've got that yet.
I've had I have a secret love affair with Paul Naschy my entire life. I have not been able to figure him out.
And pull that slipcase off and show him underneath of that.
Boom, here we go. Look at it, still in plastic. So if anybody's interested with the slipcase, you know where to find me. No, here we go. And there it is. There. Whoops.
There we go.
El Hombre Loco.
El Hombre Loco, and that's it.
Mamma mia.
Once again, I've seen it in the past. I can't wait to see what they do with 4K.
It looks really good.
I'm just, this stuff has been boggling my mind. Anyhow, that being said, as far as watching, I found my new holiday Christmas favorite. That's going to go on my list. That also includes things like March of the Wooden Soldiers and Christmas in Connecticut and The Man Who Came to Dinner in the classic sense of the word, Scrooge. And then, of course, over the years, I've got more demented as I get older. So now things like Office Christmas Party is in my list every year to see that. And I have to admit, I watched Violent Night, and I enjoyed it. The best way to describe this film is if you sent that film out for like one of those Ancestry.com DNA tests, where'd it come from? It is Die Hard. It is
100%.
Home Alone. It is what was the third one I had? God, and it's got a sprinkling of Miracle on 34th Street, because it just has this miracle of Santa Claus and this, not giving too much away, but it melds together so well because it doesn't take it so. I enjoyed it. I really did.
Did you see it in the theaters, or is that like on?
I rented it on stream. It was rentable on streaming, and I was trying to wait. It's not coming out until July
Oh, wow.
on
Okay.
DVD, and I sat or Blu-ray DVD or whatever. It might be one that I'll pick up for the collection, but I really
Is
enjoyed
that
it.
good? Chris, you saw it as well?
Yeah, I saw it and I 100% agree with Dan. My buddy Glenn was like, oh, it's John Wick meets Home Alone. And then when I watched it, I'm like, are you a fucking moron? Like, this is a remake of Die Hard with Santa Claus. And it's got a spitful of Home Alone. I didn't catch the Miracle on 34th Street because I haven't seen that in about 75 years. But I'll take Dan's word
Well,
for it.
it's got that sentimental touch, at the end. That's it
little
wraps
bit.
it up nicely.
And who's
And
is Santa Claus? John McClane or Hans Gruber?
Yeah, he's John McClane.
Well,
And-
there's a Puerto Rican Hans Gruber now, and there's also the douchey boyfriend who played like the guy who was doing the coke in Die Hard. I mean, they grab
Right,
certain
yeah.
characters. and
I
you
mean,
read
it
them.
literally is fucking by the numbers Die Hard. I didn't love it. I thought it was okay. My buddy Glenn loved it. Obviously, Dan liked it. I wanted to love it, but I was like, it was a little too long for me. And it kind of, like to Dan's point with Miracle on 34th Street, it was a little too like, okay, you want to be a violent action film or do you want to tug on my heart? Because you can't do both. It's one or the other in my book. So it was lots of violence and action, but when you're pulling out my heartstrings, I'm like, get the fuck out of here, man. I don't want that. Plus, it was like 100 minutes. And I thought it was for me,
It was
too long. Should have been 80 minutes, in and out.
That's the latest watch, and that's what I bought. So
Cool.
I passed the torch. How
All
much
right.
time? How much time did I spend?
That was good, Dan.
You were
Thank
good.
you.
Oh, too long. I was looking at my watch and I don't even own one.
All right, Chris.
All right. This was a recent pick. I did get the Werewolf versus the Vampire Woman that Dan showed, but I didn't watch it yet. But I also got this at the same time. One of my all-time favorite monster movies in 4K. That's
I hated
the
it.
cover, and that's the regular cover, which looks exactly the same. Yeah, The Incredible Melting Man. I've bought this movie like 5 fucking times. DVD, Blu-ray, and now 4K. But oh man, this movie is so much fun. Such gooey madness. I mean, it's a terrible movie, but I fucking love it, man. And the gooiness in 4K does look incredible.
Davey, are you squirming because you don't like this movie, or you wish you got
Half an hour of a guy walking rounds and stumbling in a
Oh,
forest.
he's just stumbling and dripping.
Oh.
I do that. What makes him so special?
The bit with the nurse crashing through the door instead of just opening it, she get
Oh,
plenty
it's
of
great.
time. She
Yeah,
just throws herself through the glass because they wanted a little action moment.
and she spills blood all over her shoes, but then after she runs through the glass, her shoes are totally fine. I
Yeah,
mean,
they introduce this military colonel as if he's going to be a big deal,
Oh,
and then what
yeah.
happens? He's just not in it.
nothing. Yeah, it's ridiculous, but I love it. Another recent pick for me, which I had bought previously on DVD, but now I finally have the Blu-ray. It's a double feature of Bonnie's Kids and Centerfold Girls, but I only recently rewatched Bonnie's Kids. But man, it's a fucking blast. It's a classic 70s exploitation with Tiffany Bowling, who was like the early 70s driving queen. She's actually in both of these. Some good nudity, a lot of action, but it's fun. It's stupid, cheesy, early 70s fun.
What label is that on, Chris?
This is an older one, Dan. This looks like Gorgon, because it looks like that old. Looks like that old. Remember Gorgon Video?
Yeah,
It looks like
yeah.
the back. Yeah, I picked this up at the Archive, which is the store run by Vinegar Syndrome when they did their Black Friday sale. This was one that I always talk about Shudder, because Shudder's not my favorite channel, but what I like is that there's stuff on there that I watch that I wanted to buy, and then I'm like, oh, I'm glad I didn't buy that. And this one kind of falls in that category. I'd already bought the DVD at least once, never bought the Blu-ray, but the slipcover kind of sold me, but it's not the greatest. Don't Open Till Christmas. This is the new, that's the slip, and that's the inside. It's from the guys that did Pieces. I think they did this before Pieces. Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's is that an earlier version? Or was it already on Blu-ray?
It's the unslipped.
Oh, is that the alternate? Look at that, Pete. I didn't even fucking realize that.
Yep,
That
it's the
is
alternate cover. Yeah.
Reverse.
that's funny. Yeah, I mean, it was good. In my head, I guess from previous DVD viewings, I liked it a lot more. Just a guy going around killing Santa Clauses. It's got that 80s charm. It's got some blood, but
a lot of killings in the film, actually.
A lot of gore, a lot of killings, but I'm like, fuck. Did I need to spend $25 on this? To me, Incredible Melting Man, sorry, Davey, is essential. But did I need another version that don't open until Christmas? I don't know. And was that 2? All right, so I'll do one more real quick. This was one that I had seen on cable like 100 years ago. And when I was doing Hudson Horror Show, 35 millimeter film prints would come up for sale on eBay and various websites and collectors and shit. And this movie, a 35 millimeter film print, came up for sale a couple years ago. And I was like, oh, that could be good to run, at my film fest, or it could suck because I haven't seen it in 30 years and I don't remember if it was any good or not. I think it was good, but what do I know? It was 100 years ago. Anyway, they came out with a special edition Blu-ray. I bought it and watched it the other day, and holy hell, thank God I didn't spend $200 on the print, because it sucks. And it's Rutger Hauer in a Aliens Predator knockoff split second. This is from MVD. And it's just the fucking same as the slipcover. If I was old school Pete Pardo, I would just throw this thing in the garbage. But I'm new school Pete Pardo, so I'm keeping it. But yeah, this movie sucks.
I saw that in the movies as a new release in '92.
Did you?
Yeah, and I remember it was very dark. You couldn't see much. It was like in the sewer or something.
Yes, most of the movies in the sewer. It's in the future. It's got a great cast. Rutger Hauer is the cop who's got to fight this alien predator thing that's in the subways. But man, there is just shitty joke after joke, none of which land. Kim Cattrall, it was the worst. She's the worst part of the movie because she does actually get naked, but the producers made her, I guess, cut her hair in a weird shape and dye it. Because me and my buddy Sean were watching it and we're like, that wig looks fucking terrible on her. And then like later in the movie, she's naked and in the shower and we're like, oh God, that's not a wig. And then we're like, poor Kim Cattrall. They made her cut her hair for this shitty movie. But yeah, this sucked. This was $20 down the drain, but thank God I didn't spend $200 for the film print, because this movie, I thought it sucked.
That was in the out of print days with VHS. That was a commodity.
Yeah,
people were spending big money for the VHS of that.
She might have cut her hair for Star Trek: The Undiscovered Country.
That's true. They were
short. That was 91.
Good point, Craig. I was never thinking what's around there, but yeah, when Split Second came up on the film print, looking back, I'm like, oh, thank God I didn't buy it, because it's a rough sit through. It's bad joke after bad joke. The monster looks great, but you literally see him like 2 minutes.
I guess it's time to go sell that on eBay now, huh?
Oh, for sure. And I'm pulling a Pete Pardo. I've been selling shit on eBay and doing pretty good with it. So yeah, this will go up. And maybe Don't Open No Christmas too, because now it's on Shudder. I'm like, fuck, I should have just watched it on Shudder.
I think
I bought it and I fell asleep a couple times through it, and then last night it was like late, and I just put on Shudder and I watched the end of it. I kind of enjoy it. I think it's pretty cool.
I mean, it's got its moments. But in my old age, I'm just like, there's just less and less shelf space, which I don't have to tell anybody. You guys know shelf space is a commodity nowadays.
I have a room.
Exactly.
I keep packing stuff over at my mom's house, which is like 3 miles away. And she's like, if you bring more shit over. And I'm like, Ma, I'm out of room.
You got that garage. What do you mean you're out of room?
I got 6 garages, but there's no more room.
Oh, too funny. All right, Craig. Jimmy's having all sorts of computer problems.
Yeah.
I had to keep muting him. There was all this noise coming from his phone. I was like, all right, I don't know what's up.
I mentioned this on a prior episode. I have a bunch of stuff, but I will try to zip through them swiftly. I had a free preview over Black Friday weekend of all the premium channels through my DirecTV. So I DVR'd lots of movies that I hadn't seen before, so I got to catch up and watch some of them first. And some of these are really new. So if anyone says we don't get the newer movies, well, I have a few. here. First one, this one's called Torn Hearts. This is starring Katie Seagal from Married with Children. This one's from 2022, and it was an Epix EPIX original movie. That was one of the channels that I had. It's about a couple of two girls in their 20s. They're like a country music duo, and they're just friends, and they get the opportunity to meet one of their idols, who is Katie Seagal, who was supposedly like a big country star in the 90s, like in a Judds type band with it was her sister, but her sister died tragically. And it's one of those you might not want to meet your idols type movies, because there's a lot of creepy things that happen. Not too bad of a movie, but it was good to at least watch it on a premium channel. But if you get the chance to see it on Shudder or Netflix or whatever, something like that, check it out. It's pretty short. It's only about an hour and a half. This one's also from 2022. This is called The Avery. This is a movie with only a very small cast. I'm not sure how to pronounce her name. Malin Ackerman and Lorenza Izzo. She was in Green Inferno and recently in Confess Fletch. It's gorgeous. It's about two women who escape a cult. And they're kind of like on the run in the desert, but they get kind of lost, and some creepy things with them, because the cult leader, who's played by Chris Messina, does some hypnosis on them, and so they're kind of having these backflashes and weird dreams. Not too bad, but a better movie is from 2011, starring Elizabeth Olsen, called Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene. Which is a very similar movie, but way better. Has much more suspense and tension in it. So if you're gonna go for I would see the Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene. Yeah, that one's the better movie to see. This John Hawkins is amazing in that film. Yes. Yeah. And this one came out last year, from 2021. This is called Black Friday. This is with Bruce Campbell and Devon Sawa, who's in Final Destination. Yeah.
He's also in the Chucky TV series.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and Michael Jai White is in it as well. Not bad. It's kind of an alien invasion movie that takes place in a toy store on Black Friday. Very, very similar to that movie Intruder, except that takes place in a supermarket. Pretty similar.
Intruder's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Intruder, I think, is better than Black Friday was. Bruce Campbell is the manager of the toy store. Personally, I worked in a toy store for several years while I was in high school and college, so I thought this would be a real fun throwback. I have lots of fun memories of working those crazy days of Black Friday. But the movie was okay, but not great. This one was from 1983, directed by Fred Olen Ray. This is called Scalps. This is basically 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag. This was not good. I watched this on Tubi. It was really bad. It's most of Fred's movies, unfortunately. Well, I kind of thought this would be a little bit better, but it was just awful. I just couldn't. I couldn't get into it much at all. Just bad effects, bad acting, and boring too. That's probably the most guilty thing. Here's a movie from '81 that Chris is familiar with, The Pit. I watched this. Oh, brilliant! This was a fun movie about this weird 12-year-old kid who talks to his teddy bear, who lures people into the woods or he feeds raw meat to these like little creatures that live in a hole in the woods, and he also lures people into them once he runs out of money from his for getting grocery store meat. Not bad. It's got some good nudity, which I kind of I was surprised where that came out, but fun little movie. Again, just watch that streaming. The original Terror Train I watched, and with Jamie Lee Curtis, David Copperfield. I watched this because I watched this on Tubi, because Tubi then made a remake of it. I heard about it. Which terrible. Yeah, it's basically identical plot. They don't of how, of the original movie, except they changed like a few things with it. The Jamie Lee Curtis is now black. Her friend is pansexual. There's the killer is like the circumstances of the killer is dead identical to the original movie, but it's not that good. The David Copperfield in the new movie is a little more extreme because the original he just did card tricks and sleight of hand, and that's not good enough for 2022. So they kind of amped him up a little bit. Not all that great. Last one is some months back, we did a ranking of the Nightmare on Elm Street series. So on Turner Classic Movies, they had a documentary on Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Freddy's Revenge. This is called Scream Queen. It's a story of Mark Patton, who's the star of Nightmare on Elm Street 2, who was a closeted gay man, and just what he went through making the movie and his career prior to that. He kind of disappeared off the scene after this movie, and it's pretty good, although he had a lot of resentment towards the gentleman who wrote the movie, and he kind of makes peace with him at the end, but he really had an axe to grind with the writer of the movie and with the director a little bit too. Jack Shoulder, I believe his name is. Yep. But a decent documentary. They showed the movie after it on Turner Classic, but I was already familiar with it, which again was I didn't like it when I saw it when I was younger, but I on rewatch it was more fun the next time around. There's a lot of campiness to it. So that's my first go round.
Cool. Davey.
Okay, I'll be brief on these because I've picked up quite a few recently, being the season and being stuck indoors. Eureka Master of Cinema.
Cats in Space hat you're wearing there, my friend.
Yes, indeed, Cats in Space.
All right.
Their Christmas beanie. So this is a most dangerous game from Eureka Masters of Cinema, the 1930s classic where if you can't hunt animals, you might as well hunt people. One of the most influential movies of its time. That story has been done to death since then. A brilliant presentation from Masters of Cinema. From Arrow Video, Audrey Rose, one of the cool cult movies of the time, kind of Omen, that kind of more serious take on horror era, which we had with the Changeling and things, and a terrific cast, including Anthony Hopkins. Anthony Hopkins in a very young.
How's the transfer on that, Davey? I know that just came out, I think.
Very good indeed, and it's one of those films. I mean, it's not as salacious as you'd think, which I guess that's why Anthony Hopkins is in it. But suppose a stranger told you your daughter was his daughter in another life. Suppose you began to believe him. Suppose it was true. But it's more of a cool kind of thriller horror rather than an out-and-out horror, but definitely culty as hell. And again, with Anthony Hopkins, wonderful actor. Back to Masters of Cinema doing old school classics, right back to the 20s in the silent era, with the original Hunchback of Notre Dame, with a rather gorgeous slipcase, the Lon Chaney Senior Classic, or as I call him, just Lon Chaney, because Lon Chaney Jr. was terrible. The Hunchback of Notre Dame from Masters of Cinema. This is a brilliant transfer. It looks absolutely terrific. From 88 Films, Mardi Gras Massacre just came out. It's got a very shiny slipcase there. I'm sure some people here have seen it, but it's one of these, get involved with the cults and Pretty Blonde has to be rescued, and we've got an older actor playing the somebody who was famous from a Western TV show in the 50s or something, playing that kind of thing. You've seen this a million times, but it's just a fun cult slasher, but not with too many kills. So I can't recommend it too much, but it's if you see it in a sale, 88 Films have put it out. So pretty neat. ghost stories for Christmas. Over here, as we mentioned back on the Trick or Treat episode, Halloween was never as massive a thing over here. And one reason for that is because, as with Scrooge, that Dan mentioned, Christmas is always the time for ghost stories in the UK. So ghost stories at Christmas has always been a tradition on TV. These are the 60s and 70s TV adaptations of M.R. James short stories, like Whistling I'll Come to You and The Stills of Barchester, A Warning to the Curious. It stars old school British stars like Michael Hordern and things, but wonderful, wonderful stuff. Ghost stories for Christmas, if you like a kind of creepy old school British horror. And I too picked up Four Flies on Grey Velvet. As was mentioned, limited edition from Severin, but they decided to do that themselves by saying it was only going to be available for the weekend, and then it wasn't, for Black Friday, and then it wasn't going to be available anymore. So they made it artificially limited edition. And for me, this is too good an edition to do that with. It is 4 discs. You get the 4K, which looks amazing, absolutely stunning. You get 2 discs with millions of special features, and you get the Ennio Morricone soundtrack. And it's got a brilliant cover. This is all spot gloss on the eyes. This is all stand up here, in the back, that's all spot gloss as well. And then the cover inside with the classic. Yeah. So
That's a nice
this is one of my favorites of the old the Animal trilogy from Argento from the early years. But yeah. Jumping over to Asia, Police Story 3, Super Cop with Jackie Chan and Michelle Yeoh. Not really horror at all. In fact, it's not. It's just an action movie, but it's probably the best action movie of the 90s, and it's been ripped off so much. So many stunts from this were ripped off in American movies, just like all the Police Story films by Jackie Chan. Never watch American action movies when they're ripping off Jackie Chan movies from the 80s and 90s, because Jackie's doing it himself. There's no stuntmen involved. Michelle Yeoh's doing it herself. And I love Michelle Yeoh so much. I love her so much. Just a couple more then, I'll pass it back. The new David Cronenberg, Crimes of the Future. I enjoyed this. It's getting mixed reviews, but I think Cronenberg's at his best when he's getting mixed reviews, because if Cronenberg is pleasing, there you go. If Cronenberg's pleasing everybody, he's not doing his job. Cronenberg should always be putting some people off. Some people should be offended by what Cronenberg's doing. So to me, this is, I love Spider, but he's been making more proper dramas for the last 20 years and appearing in Star Trek Discovery. But for me, this is probably his best since Crash, maybe something like that.
I would agree with that. Yeah, it's a weird movie, but it's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, Viggo Mortensen's strange in it. Lea Seydoux is fantastic. She's wonderful. Anybody that thinks that she's just that girl from those Bond movies, no, she's fantastic in it. From who put this out? Voltage Films, the documentary about Boris Karloff, the 2-discer. Which just fantastic stuff. It's got Guillermo del Toro and John Landis and Roger Corman, so it's everybody you'd want to hear talking about Boris, kind of doing so, and just a great look at his life. And it's not salacious at all. It wasn't a guy with a dark side like Bela Lugosi's drug addiction or anything. So it's really a nice film. It's a celebration of someone we can really look back on fondly, and it's a terrific documentary, really good. And then going from terrific to terrible, this was, somebody said to me, you need to watch this, it's the most exciting thriller of the year, Beast with Idris Elba.
I heard that's awful.
Yeah, and Shartle Copley, is that his name, the South African actor? Remember that film with Tippi Hedren and Melanie Griffith where they have like real lions and stuff and they live on? What was that? Roar? I think it was called
Roar. Scariest movie ever made. Ever.
Yeah, because it's real lions, and I think the tagline on the poster says something like, "No animals were harmed during the making of this. 20 people were." Oh, Chris. This is basically that, but with like CGI lines and stuff. So why should I care? Idris Elba and this family is, how are we going to escape these animals? Just boring as hell. So sorry, Idris. I usually love you, but
So basically, bad Jaws in the jungle, right?
yeah, just total dumb fuckery. But then in this round, I'll finish off with going back to Asia. I got for Christmas the Shaw Brothers Volume 2 box set, which is
Nice.
another 12 classic Shaw Brothers movies, including all the 5 Vipers trilogy, all the 37th Shaolin movies, 36 Shaolin movies, 2 discs of soundtracks from it, and with Arrow, you just get that just gorgeous stuff, and they're all done in that big book with the big booklet and everything. It's phenomenal. So that's us on Volume 2 now, and word is Volume 3 is going to be out later this year, so that'll be even more exciting. So yeah, that's me.
All right. I guess on my first round here, I'll show off some 4Ks that I've gotten, and I have watched all of these. So we'll start off with the granddaddy of them all, one of my favorite films of all time, Black Christmas. I wasn't going to get this because I was like, I don't know how much better the Blu-ray is going to look. And I read all sorts of reviews, and I thought like, oh, this film will never look better. And yeah, that's pretty much the case. And you got Blu-ray of it on here as well. And you have a Blu-ray with there's tons of special features on here. Interviews with almost everybody who's still alive who was involved in the film. Mandatory if you're a fan, one of the early slashers, absolutely game-changing film. Probably the best 4K of an older film, and again, older from the 80s, that I've seen on 4K in a while, Return of the Living Dead. This looks absolutely incredible. If you're a fan of this film, you're going to want to have this, and a ton of special features. Again, you got you got 3 discs in here, just absolutely great. Picked this up for pretty cheap. I actually like this film. The first I Know What You Did Last Summer also looks amazing on 4K. A lot of fun. Jennifer Love Hewitt running around and not too much clothes. Can't go wrong with that. Kino Lorber, Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Oh yeah.
1978. Yeah. Also looks fantastic. A lot of good special features on that as well. Picked this up because my stepson recommended to me. He goes, oh, this movie is so creepy, you think you'll dig it. So I bought it, and it actually is pretty good. Mother.
Oh yeah, Darren Aronofsky. Yeah.
Definitely a weird, creepy ass movie. I was like, it doesn't look like. I mean, you see this and you're like, it's just some kind of, Jennifer Lawrence, rom-com or something like that. Nope, not at all.
No. Oh no.
Very, very disturbing, very bizarre movie. There's that. It's not Christmas without Krampus, right? Loads of fun. Looks great on 4K. And then my last one for this round will be an old silent classic released in 4K, The Man Who Laughs from 1928.
Oh, Conrad Veidt.
Yeah. This is a very cool movie. Again, it's not really a horror movie. It's sort of a melodrama with a weird kind of bent to it, but he's just so disturbing looking throughout the whole movie. And again, he's the kind of the prototype for what became the Joker in DC Comics. And
Sure.
The
very, very cool silent film if you like this old kind of
the
stuff.
Blu-ray is stunning. As the Blu-ray itself is stunning. I can imagine 4K.
Mm.
Looks great. Looks great. So, all right, Dan, back to you.
Back to me. Okay. Well, we got a couple of. First off, I decided to up the ante. Couldn't go to 4K, but went to Blu-ray. But I got a couple of Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger and some Ray Harryhausen's Mysterious Island.
Nice.
Great thing about it, beautiful transfers. There's not a whole ton of extras, but more than any of the American releases has on them. And people are selling these on eBay for like $19, which I thought is a pretty good price in general. So it was a good time to upgrade all these things, a worthwhile investment, especially if you're into anything with Harryhausen. That was one. Number two, this was something that came out on Severin, Tales to Keep You Awake, which is a Spanish horror anthology series from the 60s that was rather famous. And the entire series is on here, complete with introductions, some creepy gothic tales. And apparently the gentleman who did these films, I think what his name was, name is Ibanez Serrador, I think it is. He was like a the Rod Serling of Spain. And these things sat in a vault for years, trickled out through Europe, I believe, and then finally they put them out on Severn. And this, interestingly enough, if you go to Blow It Out Here video, search through there. Not only can you get like Region Zero Australian pressings of things in Blu-ray, not 4K, but you could also, even when Severn was having their sale, this was $21 and still is $21 on Blow It Out of Here video with free shipping. During the sale, it was like 25 or 26. So go on Blow It Out Here video. It's pretty wild when you see.
I have to check them out, Dan. Blow It Out of Here video.
Blow It Out Here. They're on what you call it?
The interwebs.
eBay. It's on eBay.
Okay. So they don't have their own site.
No, the thing about it, it's what happens with these also is you get free shipping, and in Blow It Out Here video, when you buy 2 or more items, they take 15% off. It's pretty wild. Some of the prices to get on certain things are pretty. So that's why I jumped on this. I wanted to get that during the Severn sale, but I just ran out of money when I wanted to spend. But worthwhile.
Is it Blow It Out of Here or Blow It
Blow
Out?
It Out of Here video. I'll push come to shove. I'll send you a link to their store. Same as like Groove Entertainment has stuff in 4K, like 2 for $25. I mean, there's a lot of places out there on eBay that are legit and they're playing hard. And I've been pulling back on.
Chris, if you just Google it, their eBay store will come right up for you.
Yeah, take a check. Just start punching in things. And I mean, some things are more expensive, but shipping, they're very much on top of things for a big company. They stay pretty much on top of things. Like when I get stuff from Diabolic DVD, I get it right away.
They do have their own website as well.
Well, they do. So
they have a whole store on eBay, and then they have their own website as well.
Definitely worth checking them out.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
This episode was brought to you by blowouthear.com.
Blow It Out video, yes.
Yeah.
They should send me a couple of freebies for this now.
There you go.
Okay?
Right.
Come on. Anyhow, now we're going to go back to something that's always amazed me when things that I saw on television in the 70s, and many of us have seen them in the 70s and 80s, all of a sudden they decide to unearth something, and I'll give Vinegar Syndrome a lot of kudos on this one. I mean, God, they took this movie of the week thing, which was, it's in public domain actually, and it shows up, it used to show up on public domain, DVDs or VHSs.
I have that on a very cheap DVD. Yeah.
I was just saying, I've got a cheap DVD of it, Dan, but never watched it. How is that? How is it as a movie? I heard mixed things.
It's an okay film. It could have been better. It was based on a story, a book that was written. Basically, it's kind of like The Night Stalker, but it's a werewolf, and it was filmed on location in Louisiana. Great cast. David Jansen from The Fugitive, who plays a local sheriff. There was a glut of like werewolf films like in the early 70s on television. It's okay. I mean, if you want to,
it's not terrible, Chris, but the biggest disappointment is that the werewolf makeup is awful.
Oh.
That's the worst thing. The film is not, it's good acting, like Dan said. It's not terrible, but man,
this one sounds like a wait till Shudder gets it. Because if it's on Vinegar Syndrome, Shudder pulls the stuff from Vinegar Syndrome.
It's good, but it's worth a watch. I mean, the one thing about this one, what really intrigued me and why I was intrigued is that a few years ago, now I had seen Salem's Lot on TV when it came out in 1979, and then it popped up on VHS, and then you'd watch it on TNT Network. Now you're watching the resolution of an old Sony Trinitron from the late 70s and early 80s. So why I get excited about these films is that when Salem's Lot came out, now, I'd only seen it in low res, VHS. I didn't even bother. They put it out on Blu-ray, and it just pops at you. It's just amazing.
Never seen it that way before. Yeah.
Wow. And it just blew me away. So this here, on that level, to be able to see a TV movie of the week from the original film elements, and they do a decent restoration. Jeffrey Lewis is in there as well from Salem's Lot. A good little buy. Like I said, it's not a break the bank scenario. They have a lot of money for it right now, but like I said, catch it on Shudder at some point when they have a sale. When it drops, it might be worth it for your collection, but I got it strictly just to see what the quality would be, and it did not disappoint. Yeah, what else? Oh boy. All right, this is not exactly a horror film, but I got it because I've always heard about it. I wanted to see it. I'd seen it in color, and they came out with Johnny Mnemonic.
Oh yeah, Keanu Reeves.
The black and white cut, and it's in black and white. And it doesn't appear to be, something to really capitalize on it, but it takes on a very big noir feel to it. It's a really weird shit show of a film, very dated at this point, but it does take place in like, I think 2021 or 2022 or something in the future. Got it for the black and white thing. It was not a break the bank scenario, and putting things in black and white, like if you watch Logan, it has that gritty noir feel to it.
Mad Max Fury Road had a great
Exactly.
black and white.
Black and white is such a more stunning way to work. Final things that I've gotten, this is stepping away once again from the horror circuit, but I've always been intrigued with 1990s martial arts films went direct to video, like Dragon Wilson.
Like anything with Cynthia Rothrock?
Cynthia Rothrock.
Oh,
And these are films that were never made really for theatrical release. So I bought in this last sale, I need my head examined because I've had them on VHS. I went out and I bought Sworn to Justice with Cynthia Rothrock. I also bought Righting Wrongs, which was released in here as not martial law. Oh, what the hell? It was released on another title here. And both Cynthia Rothrock is in it. There's 3 cuts of this film on here. Same as here, there's 2 cuts. I also bought a film called Whatever It Takes with Don the Dragon Wilson, Fred Williamson, and Andrew Dice Clay about fighting an illegal steroid.
The days.
Oh, not
Who else is in Righting Wrongs? Is it Yen Biao?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And the thing about it, once again, these films, they were made for a video market. Never saw them on film. They probably had a very small theatrical release, but they never really had the resolution did justice for them. So they went out, probably the film elements, I'd say they've got to be in spectacular shape, and they are. So to watch these films, because of the quality of the print, okay, it's just, it makes it enjoyable. It takes away that quaint VHS thing, but it brings out and say, wow, it's just like it was filmed yesterday. They're in such great shape. But I've been getting a kick out of getting these things lately. They kind of fun. And Cynthia Rothrock, how can you go bad with her? In the scheme of things.
Well, her and Michelle Yeoh did Yes, Madam together, which has just been released on Blu-ray. Which
I mean,
both of them in one movie.
And I'm assuming the Shaw films look great on this on the Blu-ray.
Oh yeah, I mean, again, they always popped. It's like Hammer; they always just popped with color, anyway. So yeah.
I mean, they always have a quaint charm for me. Like they should have like a dumbed down mode if you're watching a film that used to be in the theaters, like in the old kung fu movies, so you could actually add your own scratches and splices, and kind of like do the Grindhouse thing with Planet Terror to make you realize what it was like. But you watch them, it takes on a whole new meaning. It's amazing how they preserved a lot of their archives, and America usually records the daily news on it, so it's they don't care. But that's my purchases and watches. I also bought a copy of Roadhouse, only because it's just such a great cheesy story. It's just such a cheesy film, and where I've never seen a film use the word "prepare to die" with such fury in this film. It is bad, it's fun, it's Patrick Swayze with his golden slumbers hairdo.
Got Terry Funk.
Terry Funk. And
Sam Elliott's mustache.
And Sam Elliott.
Ben Gazzara saying, "Hey Elvis, play something with some balls."
Exactly. It's like it is literally like the perfect drive-in movie.
You know what it is, Dan?
What?
It's movies for guys that like movies.
That's it.
Roadhouse.
I may have heard that somewhere before.
Roadhouse.
So yeah, I haven't had a chance to watch it. So I'm looking forward to it just for the hell of it. But like I said, just a quick on-site about how this film became very happy with me. We opened the warehouse at one point. It was the middle of a blizzard, and I was sitting there with 3 friends, and we started talking about Roadhouse. And I said, we should get a copy of this. There was no business in the restaurant anyhow. So it's a blizzard. We went everywhere from Target. We went to Walmart. We called places, even the video stores, to find a copy. We drove in a blizzard to find a copy of it. Went back to the warehouse, set it up, ate chorizo tacos, had a great afternoon, and recited dialogue from the film. So that's why I had to get it when it came out in 4K, because that's the chorizo taco.
Significance. There you go.
Yeah. That's the latest purchases and watches and all that stuff. So,
God, Jeff Healey was in it as well, wasn't he?
That's right.
yeah, the bees the housemaid. Yes.
That's right. Yeah.
J.C. Penney's come to this town because of me. You ask anybody, they'll tell you.
All right, Chris.
All right, I only got a couple left. This was one that I got a couple years ago, and I watched it. I know I mentioned it once on an episode, but I couldn't remember a damn thing. My buddy Sean was over; he'd never seen it. This is the most recent Puppet Master movie on
yeah.
okay.
And Littlest Reich, is it?
Yes. And it's a dirt cheap 4K. And I gotta say, I think it's one of the best Puppet Master movies I've ever seen. It's a lot of fun. It's got a lot of familiar faces: Udo Kier, Barbara Crampton, Michael Pare. The premise is that all the puppets, the Puppet Master, the little puppets were real and they killed people. And there's a convention where people are encouraged to bring, puppets that they have that were allegedly involved in some of these serial killings. And of course, they come to life at the convention. And it's ridiculous, but it's a lot of fun. And I really enjoyed it. And I don't know if it's still this cheap, but I think I paid $8 for the 4K disc on Amazon. Wow. And it's also well worth it.
And the Puppet Master films work. They're a lot of fun. Like the first 4 or 5, I think, are just so much fun.
Yeah. One of the weirdest things about that film, that one there, The Littlest Reich, is it's written by S. Craig Zala, who directed Bone Tomahawk and Dragged Across Concrete and Cell Block 99, Riot in Cell Block 99. And he wrote that movie after those films had already been massive cult hits.
Right. And the other thing about him, he was a co-editor at Metal Maniacs magazine for many years, which I wrote for. So yeah, it's amazing that he went from the rock magazine business to Hollywood, and seems to be getting movies done. Yeah, but yeah, Puppet Master was a hoot.
They use some of the classic puppets.
Yeah, they bring them all back.
Okay.
And it, for the most part, it's practical effects. Of course, there's a couple shots where you're like, oh, that's CGI. But it definitely overall looks good. There's a lot of gore. It's short. It's like 80-something minutes. The only negative really to the movie, spoiler alert, is that there's a cliffhanger for a sequel. But shockingly, this came out in 2018, and there's still no sequel. So I'm assuming it's not coming at this point.
I don't know. They've done so many Puppet Master films. I would think at some point they're going to resurrect them again.
Right. Yeah. You would think Charles Band would be like, all right, what little creature can I do next? Yeah, let's do another Puppet Master. But yeah, that's a fun one. This was a Black Friday special, which shockingly, this is only the second time I've ever purchased these movies. The Indiana Jones 4K box set. Okay. Really, I only wanted to buy the first one because that's my favorite. I kind of like the third one. To me, the second one, I don't really love it. And man, I fucking hated the fourth one. I remember I wanted to walk out as soon as they did that refrigerator part. But the 4K of Indiana Jones, of just Raiders of the Lost Ark, was $30. And this was a Black Friday special. It's, I think, 5 4K discs, and it was $40. And then I had a $20 coupon through Amazon, or a $20 credit, so it was $20. So I was like, holy shit, I'll take that. So far, I've only watched the first one, obviously Raiders of the Lost Ark, and it was stunning. And it's been years since I saw it. I kind of forgot how much fun it is. But yeah, so now I'm looking forward to rewatching the others, including the shitty fourth one, which I'm sure I will hate just as much, in anticipation of that 5th Indiana Jones movie, which looks fucking god awful, but I'll still probably see it anyway.
What's quite funny seeing the trailer for the new Indiana Jones is it was filmed in Glasgow. So we're seeing the Apollo moon astronauts coming back, and there's a big chase. They're filming that right. It's supposed to be New York in 1969. It's the gay district in Glasgow.
That's funny.
It's a big. They've covered up all the like.
Nice.
They're like, Friday night for bear night, guys. Like, okay, put that tarp that up. Yeah,
that's funny. Right. Well, to me, not to get off topic, but that was the most underwhelming trailer I think I've ever seen for the Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I'm like, this movie, if the trailer looks fucking terrible, the odds are it's not going to be a great film. But anyway, I digress. This other movie here, I could have sworn I pre-ordered it. And it's Lucio Fulci's Contraband. And my friend Sean came up. We watched a bunch of movies, and I was like, "Yeah, dude, I could have sworn I pre-ordered it." And he's like, "Yeah, you found it." So since we watched his copy, this is what he found in my collection. The Marky Mark Contraband. So I'll just show that cover because that's the only Contraband I had to show. But at first, I've bought Contraband, aka Violent Naples, aka The Smuggler. I bought it twice on DVD. But man, this new Blu-ray, there you go, looks fantastic.
Oh yeah,
it looks incredible, loaded with extras. And like the first 20 minutes or so, I was like, wow, I thought I remember it being so much better. But then, man, it just slowly kicks in, and there's so much action and violence. And okay, yeah, there's some rape and nudity too. I'm not gonna not say that, but it's got to be the most the most violent Italian crime film I've ever seen. I mean, and forget,
a lot of fun. It's a fun film.
It's a fun film, and forget, Godfather and any of the other American-made, Italian crime films, mafia films. This thing is just nonstop action and gore. Like towards the end, I'm like, holy shit! I mean, people are getting their faces blown off and melted, and rapes and just explosions and motorboats, and I'm like, this is fucking nuts. So okay, the first 20 minutes was a little slow, but overall, yeah, I would highly recommend if you like, violent action Euro trash. And hey, listen, it was directed by Lucio Fulci, scores from Fabio Frizzi. He made this right around the time he made Zombie.
Yep.
So yeah, it shows, because this thing is gory as all.
And make sure you get the Cauldron version, right?
Yes,
okay.
that's the
gorgeous,
one.
absolutely gorgeous slipcase.
Okay. Yep.
As you can see, yeah, it's well worth it.
That's the one that, yeah. And this one, the other Contraband, yeah, this was kind of shitty. I think it says $5.99. I think I paid $2 for it. But yeah,
you overpaid by $3.
Oh, at least. And the only other one I got recently, Elvis. Not a horror movie, but really good. I listened to a lot of Elvis when I was a kid because my mom was a huge Elvis fan. I took her to see this in the theater a couple weeks ago, or whenever it was out. Man, she cried like a baby at the end. It's kind of sad, but overall, it's a good movie. I'm no Elvis expert, so I couldn't pick out all the shit that was wrong. Like, I'm not the biggest Queen fan, but when I watched the Queen movie, I was like, all this stuff that was historically inaccurate shows where I'm like, this is a mess. But so I couldn't do that with Elvis, which is maybe why I liked it. Maybe if I knew more like historical shit on Elvis, I'd be like, oh, that sucked. But I liked it. And yeah, those are my most recent picks.
Cool. Greg.
All right. I'd watched this made-for-TV movie on Tubi, and probably for one of the first times I'd seen it since back then, from '81, Dark Knight of the Scarecrow, classic, starring Larry Drake, who playing pretty much the exact same role that he would play a few years later in L.A. Law, that he would do for quite a few years. So, but a really, really good movie for the time. Charles Durning as the evil mailman. Yes.
There is. I have not seen it. Has anybody seen this new sequel called Dark Knight of the Scarecrow 2?
I haven't.
I saw the trailer. That's all I saw.
I saw the Blu-ray at somewhere.
You have it, Dan?
I haven't. I just haven't watched it yet. So
Oh,
then
God.
you're talking about I had Alien Space Avenger for 25 years and didn't know he had it. So anything is possible. But I just happened to see it. Oh, or maybe I found it somewhere. I bought it. I picked it up.
It's fairly new. I think it came out in time for Halloween. So I was just wondering if anybody
Haven't had a chance to watch it.
Okay.
Probably 2 years. Let's get a permit for it.
But a great made for TV movie at the time, and that I was like 9 years old when I saw that, and I remember it was kind of creepy. This movie, I had it bookmarked on Tubi, and when Chris was visiting me recently, he saw it and said, "Oh, that one's great," and he ain't lying. This is a batshit crazy movie, Devil's Express.
Oh, yeah,
this is one I would love to see on a big screen with a fun crowd at like the Horathon or
The Zoom guys have a print.
or at X Fest.
They
or-
ran it a
or
couple
something.
times.
Just, I mean, blaxploitation, kung fu, and demons all
Brother
mixed
Theodore.
together, and fights in the subway, and just jive talking. All, I mean, the main actor's name is Warhawk Tanzania. You can't go.
Oh,
You
can't
can't
beat
go.
that.
You can't go wrong.
Can't beat that.
You know, when that gentleman is your star.
He
But
can
That film has some significance for the Monsters then, because I think it was either Chris's first or second appearance on the Monsters Den. He talked about that film, and I had never seen it. So then I saw him shortly thereafter. He goes, "Here, borrow this and watch it." And I remember like watching that, taking it home, watching it. I was like halfway through it, and I sent him a text. I'm like, "This movie is fucking crazy."
It's so nuts.
It's just but a lot of fun, and still bad, but yet watchable bad. But lots of fun. This was a newer one that never saw before. One of the movies that I had DVR'd, Ghostbusters Afterlife. Not too bad, actually. I was pleasantly surprised by that. I thought it was a nice tribute to Harold Ramis in it, using like his ghost or such at the end. But pretty fun movie for the most part. At least I thought it was. Not horror, but I watched Black Adam the other day on HBO Max in 4K. It's all right, not great. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. It was cool to see Dr. Fate, on screen. I thought that was pretty cool.
Hawkman was done really well too.
Hawkman was good too.
Yeah, but it was okay. I mean,
And he's already out, isn't he? The Rock. He's already out as Black Adam.
Yeah,
I mean, it's ridiculous what's happening over there.
Yeah, I mean, but not bad, but not great. This one was from '81, also known as There Was a Little Girl. It's called Madhouse from 1981.
Oh yeah, I've seen Madhouse.
Kind of similar to Happy Birthday to Me.
Yeah, that's on
in
Arrow.
some parts.
Yeah,
it's about a teacher who teaches deaf children that she has a twin sister in the mental hospital who, of course, gets out due to and comes after her. Has a little bit of a twist ending to it, but not bad. A little, has some fun, has a good fun factor to it, but decent enough if you want to give it a try. That was one on Tubi. For Dan, you had mentioned about Paul Naschy. I watched Tubi has a ton of Paul Naschy movies that they added recently, and really nice transfers and dubbed into English. And we did Pete, Chris, and I did a ranking some months back, and this was one of the ones that I hadn't seen. This is Blue Eyes of the Broken Doll. Really good, and hot chicks abound in this, where Naschy plays a drifter who goes to work at this mansion, of course, that have 3 hot women in it, and he sleeps, I believe, with 2 of them, and just there's some murders going on. It's kind of a giallo basically, but what I was reading up on it said it was never even released in Italy, but it's from '73 and really good. It was a good kind of whodunit and everything, where you've got the black gloved killer going around killing these women. There is one really graphic animal scene in it where they it's like slaughter a pig, and it's real, and it's kind of nasty, but other than that, a lot of fun to it. And my last couple are actually physical things to show, and although this wasn't something that I had already gotten. It was like a month ago, I guess it was, Chris and I separately took in a 40th anniversary screening of Conan the Barbarian, and it was great to see it on the big screen once again. On a personal note, that was the last movie that I saw in the theater with my father before he passed away in 1982, so it was cool to see it on the big screen. I thought it would be maybe a cleaned up print or so, but it didn't really seem to be. It was definitely in mono, like the old DVDs were, so because all the sound came from the front. I kind of thought it would be like Jaws, that they did not in 3D, but they at least made a new, cleaned up the print, but it seemed like it was pretty, or added the extra footage that was on the old DVD into it, into this film print, but it was just the regular theatrical cut. But it was great seeing it on the big screen with that wonderful score, and of course, Schwarzenegger's just classic in that, and love it. And last one, this I actually bit the bullet and bought this Blu-ray, and Pete's got it too. Dracula versus Frankenstein.
I gotta get that.
Classic. I haven't watched there. This actually has a second movie on it called Brain of Blood, which I have
terrible.
not.
It's a stinker, not as good as Dracula vs. Frankenstein.
Which I haven't watched yet. But
I saw both movies at the drive-in together. I guess was last year, 2021.
But lots of fun. I think at least the textbook definition of a good, bad movie, directed by Al Adamson. Later on, I watched a documentary on Tubi about Al Adamson, which was was really good. I had not known that he had been tragically murdered in 1995 by someone who he had paid to watch over his house. Really, it was kind of sad because all the testimonials from everyone just said how much of a great man that he was, and they all admitted he wasn't the best director. It's not like he was Coppola or anything like that, but that he kept a lot of people at work, and it was always everything was under budget or on time, and that the actors had fun making the movies. They didn't have anything really bad to say about him, but it was a really good documentary. But this movie is wonderful. Check it out.
Starring Lon Chaney Jr., who Davey was shitting on a minute ago.
It's terrible. As
soon as Davey was shitting on him, I'm thinking, well, what about Dracula versus Frankenstein? What about alligator people?
And I'll give you
fucking
the
alligator people, Davey.
I'll give you the Wolfman, right? But apart from that, he was a total hack who changed his name only to get more work, because he wasn't called Lon Chaney. Changed his name. It was his father, but it wasn't called Lon. He changed that so he could add the Lon and Junior part. And he was in so many shitty movies where he turned up steaming drunk and absolutely ruined them. It was worse than Cameron Mitchell for that kind of shit. Worse than Cameron Mitchell. Wanker. I'm glad he's dead.
Jesus, man.
Oof.
Jeez.
But they had said that I didn't know this. The reason why he didn't talk in Dracula versus Frankenstein,
because he was drunk.
Besides that, he had cancer of the larynx or something, and when he did speak, you couldn't understand what he was saying. So that's why they kind of removed all of his dialogue from that. J. Carrol Naish plays Dr. Frankenstein. That was his last movie as well. He died shortly after that, and from the bonus features said he was very sick at the time also.
Yeah, he almost looked unrecognizable in the film. It's like, it's like, wow.
When he went on location with that film, he was so frail because he was in a wheelchair. And they brought him over. They were using actually Kenneth Strickfaden's equipment, to make for the they were able to get that because he would rent it out of his garage at that point. But anyhow, at some point they were so afraid of, and I can't recall the film, but he was so afraid of letting J. Carrol Naish because he's old, he had hurt himself on this thing like this, and he just went do the cut and trip, and he's playing with the knobs and this and that and the other thing. You're going like, how did he do that? He goes, he had used the equipment like 40 years earlier in another film. So he knew exactly what the equipment was. Is that the same print? I bought the Al Adamson box set because I just love he's just so bad and passionate director. Is that the same print and the same extras?
I believe it is.
That because I was going to get that when I went on, but I said I think this is the same.
Yeah, I believe it is, Dan, because I wanted to get the box set just to have Dracula vs. Frankenstein, but I couldn't justify it because all the other movies are kind of shitters.
Oh yeah, I know.
So thankfully now there's a standalone, so yeah, I'll have to grab that one.
Yeah, I know. I didn't go there into the post-apocalyptic pricing.
They do one of those every year, pretty much for a shitty director, if you like. They did.
I've got them all because they're just
the Andy Milligan box set, and they done one a few months ago. Who was that on? Anyway, whoever it was,
regional directors like Monsters Attack the Pajama Show and shit like that.
Yeah, but they do a big, $200 box set kind of.
And now they're like, they come out at one point. Yeah, but that's the same one. But it's a fun film.
they have some of his other Al Adamson movies on Tubi as well, like The Female Bunch and
Lon Chaney's in that too.
yeah, I forget what it's, Dracula and Dracula Castle, something something to do with his with that with John Carradine's in it. But yeah, they have several of his other movies there for people to check out. Unfortunately, this one wasn't on there, so I had to get this Blu-ray.
That's a classic. Wasn't actually? When I went to Chiller, it was like 2 years ago. What's his name was there? Zandor Varkov.
Yeah, I was gonna say the guy playing Dracula has been.
Yeah, he was one of the main reasons why I went.
Yep.
The most unconvincing Dracula of all time.
Oh, he's like a lawyer.
But he's such a 70s looking Dracula. That's what I love about it.
Yeah.
The trailer for the new Renfield movie dropped today with Nicolas Cage playing Dracula, and I think he might be the most unconvincing ever we'll see. But
why is that not surprising?
It's just Nicolas Cage playing Nicolas Cage, really. But
yeah, that's all he knows how to do, right?
It'll be fun, I'm sure. It'll be fun.
Hey, I knew at one point in time with the popularity of Mandy and all this weird shit he's been doing, I just at one point the studios are going to open the door for him again because they see he does have a following. He's back on the big screen, but
he's brilliant in Pig. If you've seen Pig,
Pig's a wonderful film.
It's a terrific film. People thought it was going to be a piss take because it's literally about a guy who has his truffle pig stolen and goes on a spree to get it back, and people are like, "Oh, it's taken, but with a pig, is it?" Ha ha ha! It's a really serious drama, and it's brilliantly done. And Nicolas Cage is fantastic in it.
About a ruined chef who's an alcoholic, and all. It's pretty interesting. Very well done for him. But
I still got to see that puppet one he made.
Oh, they mean Willy's Wonderland?
Yeah, I still haven't seen.
Oh
it.
yeah,
weird.
Chuck E. Cheese kind of thing.
Really weird. He doesn't have one word of dialogue in the film.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he mumbles a few things, or he says something at the end, but he doesn't say a thing. Plays a whole word, not saying a word. It's bizarre. It's like the banana split.
It was probably John,
like
Lon Chaney that is not.
Right.
Weird. But once again, weird enough that it's in my collection.
There you go.
All right.
All right, Davey.
Well, okay, I'll pull this from later on because we've talked quite a bit there about films that have European casts, but then one older actor who's just about to die, who they throw one last payday at. And here's Lady Frankenstein by Mel Wells. And this is
great.
Yeah, this is a fun movie, a fun version of the Frankenstein story. But Joseph Cotton plays the Baron. And his daughter decides, you failed about 20 times, so I'm going to try, and I'm going to be a lesbian while I do it. So she goes into her own Frankensteinian world. Joseph Cotton's really just there to get his name on the poster, but he's trying. It's not as if he's just phoning it in. He's not Lon Chaney Jr.ing it, but it's padded with special features, even though it's quite an old edition. But yeah, I mean, it's nobody major in this at all. I mean, Herbert Fuchs is in it, but Herbert Fuchs.
What was it? What's her name? Rosa Nalby or something?
Rosalba Neri.
Oh man, gorgeous.
Yeah.
Hottest Dr. Frankenstein ever.
She's Frankenstein's daughter, and she becomes Lady Frankenstein, even though her father's still alive. But anyway, this one, I really just pulled this out of the pale because I picked it up and I thought the title just, it's a Japanese Yakuza movie, Detective Bureau 2-3.
Oh yeah.
But the subtitle of it is genius. Go to hell, bastards. Which, that's one way to get them into the theaters. So yeah, this is a really, really good little Japanese crime movie from the 60s, staying in Japan. I believe it or not, a very proto, because this was 1976, Toxic Avenger, where disgusting creature is actually the hero of the movie. So the opposite of your Melton Man. The Oily Maniac, which is pretty fantastic.
Is that a Blu-ray, Davey?
Yeah, 88 films.
Okay.
Yeah, 88 films region 2, or they region 0?
They tend to be region locked.
Okay.
Because they deal with studios like here, for example, this is Toei. and they've got such a hard lock on things. Yeah,
Oily
loads of
maniac.
extras. Yeah, the oily maniac. So the melting man versus the oily maniac. We need that movie. Yeah.
That would be. I'd buy that movie sight unseen.
It's funny.
A lot of slippery going on there.
Yeah.
And it's one of those wonderful costumes where you can they obviously
Please
they
Wonderland.
cut open the eyes so the guy could see out, and they cut open a little bit too much so you can see quite clear skin for a good few inches around it. But, hey, it's fine. It probably wasn't that bad back in the VHS days. Also from Severin, one of their new ones announced on Black Friday, The Devil's Game, which is Dan showed us a Spanish TV show. This is an Italian TV show, and it features the final work of Mario Bava. It's 6 films that are an hour long each. They were done as a kind of anthology series and a kind of Tales from the Crypt kind of way, or any of these kind of shows, thriller. But obviously it's not Mario Bava's best work, but it's actually the best episode in here, and still fascinating. And some of the other episodes are really good too. Without Bava's involvement, I doubt this would be anybody's cup of tea that would be to put it out. But Dario Nicolaides in the episode that he does, so it's got quite a bit of cult appeal. So yeah, cool stuff from Seven as usual. From Arrow Video, Two Witches.
That's pretty good.
Witches, yeah, not bad. It's very, very, very much let's try and do a modern day Fulci, the Beyond kind of thing. I think even the cover looks like that. They tried to do that quite intentionally, but also try to be quite modern in terms of the family unit and things. So it's retro, but with a modern twist. I don't know. I think they should have stayed just completely retro. I think that's the part that works best. But it's from a first-time writer-director, which is quite remarkable because I think it is quite accomplished. It looks the part. Really nice addition from Arrow. From 101 Films, Brain Dead from the early 90s, I think 1992. That eternal issue of people getting Bill Paxton and Bill Pullman mixed up. No problem here because they're both in it. So you don't need to worry. Which one is that? Both of them. So you get Bill Paxton and Bill Pullman. You've also got Bud Cort from the original MASH and Harold and Maude. You've got George Kennedy. He even pops up, I think, about 10 minutes before he died, because he's really, really, really old in it. But he was always old, wasn't he? George Kennedy was born at the age of 63. So, just a fun 80s style movie, but creeping into the early 90s. Brain Dead. Unfortunately, it's not Peter Jackson's Brain Dead I'd rather own, but again, a lovely addition from 101 Films with a big booklet and things. So, nice stuff. Lynch Oz new documentary that came out. This is quite fascinating. It is what it says on the cover. It's a documentary exploring the links between the work of David Lynch and The Wizard of Oz, and obviously that's massive in Wild at Heart. Because you literally have the good witch coming down at the end of the film and they quote the Wizard of Oz over and over in it. But this film finds references to the Wizard of Oz throughout Lynch, references to the actual books of L. Frank Baum. It's a phenomenal documentary, if you like. David Lynch works and how he's been influenced by different things because he's so original, but it's wonderful to see how he was influenced by something so wholesome and vibrant as the Wizard of Oz. It's a bit like Blue Velvet, where you see how you've got this wonderful row of picket fences, houses, and then underneath you see the dirt and the grime and the maggots and things. It kind of, that's David. This is what it kind of shows you there, how what something beautiful and magical and whimsical can inspire some really weird stuff, even in Razorhead and things. So it's really recommended. Lynch Oz, which I've not heard anybody talking about online. So it's from Dog Woof. So Dog Woof. One that came out a few months ago. This was one of the films that kicked off the new French extreme movement in the 2000s. And I don't think I'll be able to show you very much of this at all, because just about every part of the cover and the booklet are full of absolutely horrendous violence and nudity, but in the most extreme fashion. So, but it is. In fact, I'll just show the spine to be safe. Martyrs.
Oh yeah,
from the 2000s. Yeah, this is as to say a rape revenge film in an American context. That usually means there's a bit of a rape scene, but then some girl will go on chase for vengeance and there'll be a big showdown. This is really explicit, really dark, really violent. What this woman does to get revenge. Jesus Christ, I can only compare it to the feeling you had if you saw Antichrist with Willem Dafoe. Remember the scene where he gets his knackers hit with a hammer and then blood shoots. Well, can't even think of that film. That's such a weird film. And then
that was one of the movies when we did our disturbing videos that a lot of the comments were like, "Oh, you missed. Oh yeah, you missed that movie, Martyrs." And so,
Charlotte Gainsbourg cuts her with scissors.
Oh.
Yeah, that for me was one of those one and done films. I never need to see that again.
Yeah, it was my granny's favorite movie before she passed away. But to finish us off on a rather bizarre modes here for me, but they are technically horrors, even if they're silly, daft horrors. Bob Hope and Paulette Goddard in The Cat and the Canary and The Ghost Watcher. Just fun run arounds. It's more like the Thin Man movies, just with the back and forth between the two of them, the banter being the reason to watch them, but they're still fun little kind of knockabout ghost stories as well. So if you like old school Hollywood, you don't get more old school Hollywood than Bob Hope. So old school that he's been dead for 20 years. But yeah, Paulette Goddard was working so long that she was in Silence with Charlie Chaplin. He discovered her back in what one was she in? City Lights. She didn't end well. Well, they usually didn't with Charlie, right enough, but that's what happens when you marry 14-year-olds. Terrific addition again from Eureka Masters of Cinema of just a really fun pair of movies, and that kind of sums it up there. It's all daft, it's all silly, but yeah, so good kind of Sunday afternoon movie. So yeah, that's my pickups.
All right, I'll finish this out here. I forgot one 4K before, and that is Vinegar Syndrome's Death Wish 2.
That's great.
Which the first one is coming out on 4K, at the end of this month, I think?
Yeah, I think Kino Lorber's putting that one.
Yeah, Kino Lorber's putting it out. So
two's better.
Oh yeah, two's the best one.
Two's more violent. Yeah, they're both good. They're both fun. Yeah. I got a couple of old slashers from the 80s starring a very young Rachel Ward. We've got Night School.
Oh, that's
good. Kind of like an American Giallo, pretty much. Very fun.
Yeah.
And then The Final Terror.
I ran The Final Terror off 35mm. That movie is a hoot. I always compare it to Predator.
Yes.
To me, it's
kind of like Predator meets Wrong Turn.
Yes, very much so.
Very cool film. And again, very young, totally hot Rachel Ward.
The Ward, is it Daryl Hannah? No, Daryl Hannah.
Yeah, no, Daryl Hannah and Adrian Zmed and Joe Pantaleone.
Yep.
Pantaleone.
Yeah, it's an all-star cast.
Yeah, it totally is. Totally is. Very, very cool.
And yeah, to me, it's totally Predator 6 years before Predator.
Yep.
Early 80s Daryl Hannah.
Yeah.
Here's
a great old rubber monster film. It's terrible, but the monster is so cool. From hell it came.
Oh yes, yeah.
It's a classic.
That's one of my
killer rubber tree monster.
Yeah.
I have the resin model. I have a one sheet. I have a lobby card. That is a film that it's right up there with Attack a 50-Foot Woman. It's just
it's so cheesy, but it's so much fun.
I think it's technically a Hammer movie as well, isn't it?
From Hell It Came? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they distributed it. Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe it's one of those on this side of the Atlantic
It's a-
kind of deals, but yeah.
I have no problem like wasting 65
Who,
minutes.
who directed it, Pete?
That was Dan Milner.
Yeah.
We can go on to big things.
Zombie vegetation stalks the living in a nifty 50s scream fest. It's a load of fun.
Yeah.
And it's one of those like rubber monster suits where the expression and the movements of the creature never change, but it looks awesomely goofy.
But he doesn't run, he walks, he stumbles.
He stumbles all over the place.
I mean, everybody's like running and tripping and falling. It's like, he's not going to catch you. What are you doing?
It's anybody. No.
The fucking tree, knock him over.
One of the girls is like, and she falls and trips, and she just lays there and waits 10 minutes for him to walk 20 feet.
All the natives have like James Dean haircuts. It's great.
Yeah.
It's just so,
Yeah, it's so bad, but it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. For those of you who've been following me on Facebook, I have been watching the Evil Dead series, Ash vs. Evil Dead series, last week, and I finally finished it up yesterday, I guess. Lots of fun. 3 seasons. Maybe it was a little too long for 3 seasons, but if a good kind of put an end to the whole Ash Evil Dead, type of storyline, and it's a lot of fun. Really well done from a production standpoint. I mean, the effects are really good.
Not a cheap looking show.
No, not at all. Not at all. Tons of gore.
They were trying to get 5. Raimi wanted 5 seasons out of it, but hardly anybody in the country has stars. Like I always said, if that would have been on HBO, they would have got 5 seasons, no problem.
Well, that's what happened with the Dusk to Dawn TV series.
But Dusk to Dawn was really cheap looking.
I know, but the thing is, it was what Robert Rodriguez wanted a 5-season deal, but nobody had. What was the name of that?
El Rey.
Ray.
Yeah.
I was only able to catch up on it when it came out on DVD.
They used to show great stuff on El Rey. DirecTV used to have that. And it was kung fu movies and action
slashers, wrestling. Like they had Lucha Underground was on.
Yeah, wrestling.
On
Yeah.
But cool stuff.
Yeah.
Irwin Allen's Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea.
Oh, yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
Lots of fun. That's slow. Like it, but I always found that slow.
Oh, I love the TV show as well.
Well, the
TV show is fun as well.
And they use a lot of the stock footage now, which is a great thing with Irwin Allen.
So I just watched this today. I've been hearing about this for a couple of years. Werewolves Within.
So
I never caught that.
It's fun.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's got Sam Richardson and Milana Weintraub, who plays the AT&T girl.
Right, with the big knockers.
That's right. She's yes.
It's a cool, it's kind of like a cool whodunit. It's almost like Tarantino's The Hateful Eight, because they're all kind of like all stuck in a snowy town, tiny town.
And there's a werewolf.
And there's a werewolf on the loose, and who's the werewolf type of thing. You don't see the werewolf till the end, but it's fun. It's got some good humor to it. It's really well acted and really well put together. I mean, you could tell they had some money for the film. It looks great, and the cast is really good, and she's really hot. So this was fun.
It is now time for the werewolf break.
Here's a cool, fairly recent film called The Lodge.
Oh yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah, this is really good. Really good.
That's a Hammer film. That's from the revived Hammer.
This is a newer Hammer film.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So what happens when you're stuck in a lodge in a snowstorm and weird shit starts happening in the house, and
just drink heavily. That's all. Wait for the snow to clear.
And the main girl in it, the main star of it, Riley Keough.
Yeah.
She is the daughter of Lisa Marie Presley, going back to Chris's pick.
Oh, wow. So
she's Elvis's granddaughter. Yeah.
Wow, look at that.
What, from Mad Max Fury Road and
Riley Keough. Yeah.
And don't blink, but you got Alicia Silverstone in the first 5 minutes of the film.
Yeah.
I was like, God, I haven't seen her in a million years.
She's popping up in a lot of direct-to-video things. Pretty rough.
Yeah. And last but not least, this is a very cool film. I heard so much about this for years. I finally decided to pick it up. Lake Mungo.
Oh yeah, Second Sight.
Never seen it.
Came out of one of those series of films like After Midnight Horror or something like there was these. They would put out these groups of 8 movies.
Right.
8 films to die for. 8 films to die for.
Yeah, that was one of those. It's an interesting film.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's a psychological thriller, kind of supernatural, kind of found footage, all rolled into one. It takes place in I think it's New Zealand, right? If I remember correctly. It's really creepy. really creepy. Some people might find it a little slow. There's lots of, this daughter of this family winds up like dying, but there's all these weird circumstances, and they don't find her body, and then they have all these interviews with the family, and they're all distraught and whatnot. Then they start finding like cell phone footage of what happened to her the night she disappeared. There's all this weird shit going on. It's definitely one of those, you get done watching it, you're like, alrighty then. It's because it's just a very different, very strange, downbeat movie, but I really enjoyed it. So
Saw that.
that's
years
it. I mean,
ago.
there's others, but that's all we got. That's all we got.
Speaking of those direct-to-video ones, I mean, the point of view, like Blair Witch things, found footage. I caught a couple films recently, which I found were pretty interesting. First, the guys that did Blair Witch, the original one, the director, he did a film a few years ago called Exists, about a Sasquatch. And there's once again a group of silly people or whatever, they're going to visit the uncle's cabin, people that should just really be left off in a house with chainsaws. They go up there and they hit something in the road. And next thing you know, they're being stalked. And apparently you find out that they have hit the baby of a Sasquatch. And it turns into a revenge thing in the cabin. Considering it came from the guy that did the Blair Witch, it was actually quite good. Another film that I caught recently is called
I think I saw that, Dan. That was pretty good. I think that was on Shudder recently.
Yes.
Yes.
Worthwhile
What's
watch.
it called?
Exists.
It exists. EXISTS. The other one is called Savage Land. And Savage Land is about a border town near Mexico, in which everybody in the town is mangled, destroyed, killed, whatever it may be, disappeared. And all there are, and they blame a certain Mexican gentleman in the town of killing everybody. But you find out they found like a roll of 24 pictures that show these like weird things coming out of the mountains and the hills, and how basically they've been butchered. And some of the imagery you see of these things in the distance is creepy as hell. But they end up doing like a documentary trying to find out what happened in this town. And it's all, past tense. There's all interviews. You really believe that it's really well done. You think the guy, he's arrested, charged with the murders, but some of the imagery with these grainy black and white photographs are just frightening, especially the last shot. But it's something worth checking out if you have 90 minutes. It's one of the better above average point of view films, you want to call it like that. Yeah. And there's very few that I like, and those two were something.
Yeah, some of them are kind of crappy, but
oh god.
As
before we wrap, we also need to say today is Mr. Pete Pardo's birthday.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
So
boy.
Everybody leave a comment.
Happy birthday, Pete.
Remember, there's a Ko-Fi
29.
link
God
if you
bless
want
you.
to buy him a birthday pint in the
29.
Ko-Fi. Mm-hmm. So
that's right.
Ko-Fi link below.
Oh, there's a chocolate double stout waiting for you at the restaurant still.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dan.
For your birthday, Peter. And bring a crystal along because I've got some presents for you guys tonight.
Nice.
For holiday, Christmas, birthday. Well, your birthday, so you're going to get double dip thing, but it's all right. You'll get a beer. Wow, it's not bad.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. So thanks for watching, everybody. Tune. We talking about found footage. Well, in 2 weeks, we will be ranking a series all about found footage, and that is the Rex series. So that's coming up on our next episode in 2 weeks. So stay tuned for that, and visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, all together, all the time.
Damn.
So some of the fun stuff you've been buying and watching in the comments below. Hopefully you have lots of recommendations here to go check out. And until next time, for Davey, Craig, Chris, and Dan, I am Pete. Have a good one, everybody. Take care.
Go to hell,
Bastards.
Go to hell, bastards.